Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many of you. Thank you for coming. And let us begin our series of Dharma talks by reciting the mantra of the universe in its purity, which is 2 syllables, Om Nam. One sound, 7 times. Let us do that together. Hapchang, please. Om Nam. 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 Thank you very much. Wonderful. At this point, I would like to dedicate the entire 12 short Dharma talks to the memory of our beloved teacher, Zen Master Seung Sahn, who passed away a year ago. At first, I will speak about the very basic direction of the Buddha's Dharma. When the Buddha attained enlightenment, he saw that all beings are enlightened at the deepest nature. Their deepest nature, our nature, is called Buddha nature. When we realize that, we attain that all names and forms, all sentient beings in this universe are inherently capable of enlightenment and capable of attaining liberation. This is a very, very important point. Why? When people practice and they want to find answers to their questions, they look in many ways, they look in many kinds of practices and traditions, and sometimes they attain something. We don't know what that is, but they attain something. And this something gives them a lot of energy, a lot of confidence, but what is it really? We don't know. Maybe that person who carries that attainment also doesn't know. Okay? So how do we really know what it is? Look at the way it works. Look at the way it functions. Okay? It's as simple as buying some kind of equipment which has a very nice name in the shop. Okay? But that name doesn't matter so much. The color of that equipment also doesn't matter so much. What other people say about it also doesn't matter so much. What matters is, how does it function? How does it work? So whatever happens during your practice is not so important, but how you function in your family, in your neighborhood, in your society as a human being, that's what matters. So when the Buddha had this deep, deep attainment, then he saw that all sentient beings are capable of this, and it's not necessary to suffer. It's not necessary to be deluded. It's not necessary to produce anger, desire, and ignorance. He called this later conditioned existence, which means nothing exists by itself independently of causes and conditions. Everything is caused by another factor, another phenomenon in life. Okay? So these beads are held together by a string. If this string snaps, there's nothing which can hold these beads together. It's very clear, okay? Likewise, if we have a very strong sense of ego and I, and we look deep inside, we see that it's all feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness, past, present, future, memories, judgments, sensory perceptions, all of them, held together by the string of attachment. If this string is cut, if your attachment moment to moment is gone, then you can attain and keep liberation. This is a very simple truth, but no matter how simple it was really revolutionary. It's revolutionary to the present day, even now, okay? Because it's not a religious truth, some kind of commandment which is pronounced. It's a truth which was recognized. It's a capability which was realized by a human being called Gautama Siddhartha, later the Buddha. So when he had this really profound awakening, he saw that whatever you have in your existence, whatever you have in your personality or in your world, is created by your mind alone. We'll come back to that when we study the Avatamsaka Sutra a little bit. But this deep recognition, deep attainment was completely non-religious. It depended not on a certain culture, it depended on a deeper, more personal practice that we call meditation. That's what you've been doing for the last 2 hours. Exactly the same job as the Buddha did. But there's no Bodhi tree, just a very nice ceremony hall. Okay? So, what is the next job after this? Next job is, as I mentioned in the introductory, to make this function correctly. So, attain your true self and help this world. Because if we do not do that, then this attainment or this realization remains personal, remains confined to your individual being. And if you share this, not with words, but just by your clear action, just by your clear thinking, just by a clear everyday communication with people, then this helps this world. Why? Because we, practitioners, have a great responsibility. If we do not inflict more suffering on this world, then this suffering grows less. If we do not make more anger, desire, and ignorance, then this grows less. As you meditate, you attain that all these phenomena, they do not exist by themselves. They do not come about by themselves. We make them. We create them. And when we stop making them, that's when they disappear, not before, okay? So, relying on our deepest true self, on our Buddha nature, is a revolutionary statement. It was 2,500 years ago, and it is even now. There are many, many religions who would teach you otherwise. Many, many ways of looking at the human path from birth to death. But when you look at the efficiency, look at the output, to use very common terms, it is very easy to see. No matter what you put into your head, how you function in everyday life, that's what counts. And that's why meditation practice is very, very relevant to modern society. It will always be relevant to human existence because it gives you direct insight to what we are as human beings, what our job is in this world, and how can we help each other, okay? It is not some kind of philosophy. It is not some kind of psychology, okay? And it's not something scientific, okay? It is much deeper than that. It only depends on you. So if you practice it, you attain it. If you don't practice it, you cannot learn that from books, and you cannot digest the words of this Dharma talk, okay? So the basic direction of Buddhism is attain enlightenment and help all beings, as I have outlined. And in the course of Buddhist history, many traditions emerged. They can be grouped in many ways. But one is the Theravada tradition, the other is the Mahayana tradition, and the third one is the Zen tradition, okay? We will not go too much into the classifications of these. You can read a lot of books about that. But I will outline prime differences as well as similarities between these. And the first is that it's a historical division, that some practitioners accepted only what was written down as the Buddha's own speech. That's Theravada. Other practitioners accepted what was incorporated later by other patriarchs, from Mahakashyapa onwards. That became Mahayana. And Zen is very interesting because it comes as an independent route, an independent way. So if you practice Zen, you don't depend on Theravada or Mahayana. Not depending on the scriptures, directly pointing to human mind, attaining enlightenment by perceiving human nature, and transmitting this truth, this attainment, without the scriptures, mind to mind. Okay? That's Zen. I will now talk briefly about the basic structure, how the Buddha's Dharma functions in all of these three major vehicles. In each vehicle, you see that there is the Buddha, there is the Dharma, and there is the Sangha. Why three? And why these components, you may ask? If you look at human situation, independent of anything, independent of Buddhism, independent of any kind of spiritual path, you see that there you are, the individual. You have a group of people around you, and you have some relationship to the world as well as to this group of people around you. So the basic components of human existence is truly the individual, the group, and the world. The individual, if the individual attains enlightenment, is the Buddha. The world around you, which teaches you completely and constantly cause and effect, is the Dharma. The group of people and sentient beings from whom you receive teaching as well as share the merits of your practice is the Sangha. So, because of this, we have the three major pillars of Buddhist practice in any tradition where you go. This is a very important point. And if there is a balance between emphasizing the Buddha, emphasizing the Dharma, and emphasizing the Sangha, then that tradition is harmonious, very harmonious, okay? For instance, in the West, they put a lot of emphasis on the Dharma, not so much on the individual, okay? So in the West, they read a lot of books, lots of understanding, and some of them practice, individually, quite a lot. But sometimes when tradition comes in and original teacher appears or realized teacher appears, they have a hard time connecting because of these ideas, okay? So that means Dharma has too much emphasis, okay? Not so good. And then people with a lot of understanding, they cannot really practice together with others, because they have their own opinion, their own Buddhism, their own Zen, or whatever they practice. So then cannot do together action, okay? Cannot do together practice because my meditation is not the same as your meditation, okay? So that's a big mistake, okay? That's when the Dharma becomes overemphasized. Furthermore, in the West, it happens many times that the Dharma is identified with something like this, okay? Like a book. And this is a very, very thin layer of the Dharma. It's the intellectual layer. But what does the rainfall teach you? What does sunshine teach you? What do the trees, the mountains, and the forests teach you? They are better than books, okay? They are better than human speech because directly they teach you what this world is. Directly they teach you your job as a human being, okay? Likewise, other humans, when you are together with them in a natural community, okay? Some kind of family, either workplace or home, this human interaction also teaches you. If we wake up to that, how these communities work, how these families work, how nature operates around us, that means we attain true Dharma, original Dharma. Okay? So, likewise, consider every single group of humans as Sangha. Those people who set out to achieve a goal. Maybe direction not yet 100% clear, but they set out to achieve something. And because of that, consider that your own family. If you're in the wrong family, wake up. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. But wherever you are, that's your family. Now, in the West, it's very hard to understand that. We are educated in Europe and elsewhere, United States, elsewhere, as being critical, having your own opinion, having your own views, etc. And this is not good, not bad. But if we are attached to that, then we cannot associate with people, cannot form strong family, and we cannot realize our common goals. Okay? So this is how much I wanted to say as an introduction for the first, Dharma talk. And now I really welcome your questions. Any kind of question on Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, meditation, etc. Please. Oh, so I repeated. What is the difference between a man who is seriously disappointed and a man who is attached to nothing? There's a lot of difference. If you are disappointed, you can take a very close look. What is it that disappoints you? Why you are disappointed? In fact, being disappointed is a very human feeling, okay? You get disappointed in your studies because you don't excel. You get disappointed in your girlfriend, disappointed in your family. You can be disappointed, and this disappointment teaches you, okay? And then you see where you made your mistake. So eventually you see how your disappointment came about, how it came into existence, okay? But being attached to nothing or being nihilistic is very different. That means that inside you decided you cannot solve it. You cannot correct it. So you are attached to this nothingness inside, which comes from this I cannot. If you cannot, then this takes everything away. It takes away your best abilities. It takes away your chances. It takes away everything, because inside you said, I don't want anything. I just live in this nothing because I got disappointed. So that's one further step, and it's the wrong direction. So if you give up on yourself or give up on the other person, then you have this empty feeling. Okay? That's not shunyata. That's not original emptiness. It's a nihilistic idea, which comes from I cannot. I don't want anything. I don't want anybody. I don't even want life or death. Okay? I just want nothing. I don't want to be disturbed. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want any more suffering. But this I, still there. And because of this I, this person will suffer, this time, from nothingness. So your I made this nothing, and then this nothing burns on you. It's unbearable. That's when people touch some toxic waste, booze, drugs, etc. Okay? That's when big mistakes can be made. So disappointed, very human. Nihilistic, you can make that mistake, but that robs you, takes away your human nature. Okay? Thank you. Any other question? Anybody else?
How can you not suffer in this world by meditating? I ask you.
Very good question. Well, I wish that you really try meditation and then you see what kind of suffering you experience. Okay? I would like to say, in the Bodhisattva path, there is great love, great sadness. Okay? Deja Debi in Korean. And if you truly understand that, then you see how over time your practice transforms your personal suffering into great sadness and then great love. Okay? So first of all, when you start to meditate, you have either a question inside or some direct suffering, either disappointment or some trouble. So you have to stop your life and then sit down and see what's going on, because you can't tolerate this anymore. We call that suffering. There are many kinds of suffering, okay? We'll talk about this structurally a little later. But if you see that your personal suffering is not just your suffering, then you can broaden your view. You see how your suffering arises out of causes and conditions, how you make your own suffering, okay? And then, funnily enough, you can relax. You can truly, genuinely inside just watch how this mind operates, how it puts together ideas, likes and dislikes, judgments, how it evokes memories from the past and starts to fiddle with it, play with it, project it, okay? So when you see how you make your own suffering, you can truly relax, because if you stop acting like that, your suffering stops. You know, in the old Taoist culture, they call that Wu Wei, non-action, which in the West, many people confuse with laziness. That's totally wrong, okay? So Taoism has a wonderful, heritage, which we incorporated into Zen, and that means keep it very simple, keep it clear, don't make anything with your mind. And when you don't do that, then your suffering stops. However, when small suffering, your individual suffering stops, even bigger suffering comes. Then the whole world's suffering appears in your mind. You see how human beings create their own anger, desire, ignorance, moment to moment. That's big suffering. Now you decide which one you want, but one you will always have, okay? But if you're attached to your own personal suffering, you cannot help this world, because you have your own problem, then you need help. But if you take away your own small suffering, then you have this great sadness, okay? Because human beings have made so many mistakes that the state of affairs in this world is very, very sorrowful. We caused a lot of suffering to ourselves and other sentient beings. We made it, nobody else, okay? Because of that, this great sadness appears. Great suffering appears. You see other people suffering, they suffer, so you suffer. But it's not your personal suffering anymore, okay? And then you can help. Then great love can come. Great love is not sometimes this, big emotion which we think about, okay? It's not like that. It's really keeping correct situation, correct relationship, and correct function moment to moment, okay? That's great help. That's great love, okay? So if you practice, your small suffering disappears. Then great sadness comes. Out of great sadness, great love comes, okay? More questions?
If you have reached attainment, if so, how? How did you do that?
Who reached attainment?
You.
Wrong. No. You reached attainment.
And how do I do that?
What color is this robe?
Gray.
Correct. You attained.
Attain what?
Attain truth. The truth is, this clothing is gray. See, when we talk about attainment, it's not something special. It's keeping your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind clear, moment to moment, okay? So our great teacher Zen Master Sung San said, attaining this moment, not so difficult. You make one effort, you can attain that. But how to keep that attainment and how to use that attainment, very difficult. That's why we practice long time, okay? So attaining that the sky is blue and the trees are green, very easy. But how to keep that, and how not to project all the time your illusion onto other human beings, onto the world, how to let go of your ideas, that's big job, that's big work, okay? So moment to moment, become clear. Moment to moment, return to this moment, okay? Very simple, very clear. So then, if you do this over time and become a habit, then your mind becomes very clear, like a mirror. So gray comes, sees only gray. Red comes, sees only dark red. Hungry people come, give them food. Thirsty people come, give them drink. Very simple. But how much can we do that in everyday life? When you look at that, there's still a way to go, okay? So I appreciate your attention for the first episode of our Dharma Talks. Thank you.